Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Hopefully, you're doing well. Let's get this out of the way so we can have this. How's it going? Happy Friday to you. Almost Halloween. And I am drafting up a little tweet just to say that we are live. Continuing work. So today we're going to be continuing work on a new RedwoodJS feature, and that is for GraphQL Armor. If you were with us last Friday, I had added in GraphQL Armor into RedwoodJS and begun working on the docs. So that's basically what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing a little bit of security research, figuring out a best way to communicate the change in the docs so people know why certain features, why these things exist, to try to educate and inform so they know not to disable them, not to do anything, and why they're there. So just writing out that, we continue to work on the RedwoodJS docs. Dark side of things. I wish it wasn't so laggy. It's like taking me a while to type this out because it's just so laggy. Twitch.tv/codingzeal. And let this autocorrect me. Okay, cool. Let's try to get some background music going. How about some lo-fi? There we go. All right, so it's going to be a pretty chill stream today because of the nature of what we have to do. Because we're just going to be looking up stuff. On my computer. Let me close a couple things on my computer. Maybe we can save some CPU cycles here as it struggles to keep up with our high octane coding that we're doing. Our immense high octane mega coding. All right, so I was looking at a couple things. So I was looking at this GraphQL cheat sheet. Let's bring this over here to this browser window. And I found, and then that linked over to GitHub talking about resource limitations. And all that good stuff. So where I had left off last time, so I was working a little bit on this off stream, admittedly. So what I had started to do is continue work on the block field suggestions. So last time I had just thrown in the different sections of what we were going to be touching, and I just copied and pasted what was in GraphQL Armor in terms of the descriptor for these. And then I went through block field suggestion and wrote out the description for this one. So for block field suggestion, It says, by default, GraphQL suggests field names to be used when wrong ones are provided in a request. By leveraging this in production, an attacker can use a brute force attack to discover your schema and gain access to unauthorized endpoints. By default, block field suggestions will prevent returning field suggestions and linking your schema to unauthorized actors or attackers. So this is what I came up with after reading a couple different security kind of stuff explaining this so I could come up with the best explainer possible. So let's see. So by default. So let's try doing this. Of this. So I want to kind of mirror what we're doing for the depth limit. So to mitigate the risk of this attack, to mitigate the risk of attacking your application, using brute force. RedwoodJS, by default, sets this to has block field suggestions enabled by default. And then I'm going to copy this. So to mitigate the risk of this attack of this attacking your application, so to mitigate the risk of this attack, to mitigate the risk of this attack to your application, to mitigate the risk of this attack. Let's just do this because we've already explained the attack vector and stuff like that. So to mitigate the risk of this attack, RedwoodJS by default has block field suggestions. It has block field suggestions enabled. Block field suggestions. So let's make sure to have block field suggestions. Let me pull up the documentation so we can do the proper direct linking to this. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to link to that documentation for block field suggestions. So under that, we can do block field suggestions. So using block field suggestion property and setting and then please visit options. So we go here, so that, yeah, make sure that link in there. And then we copy this and put it right there. And here, so to mitigate the risk of application, so right here is where we're at. So, and how does this look is the question. Yeah. By default, GraphQL suggests field names to be used when wrong ones are provided in a request. By leveraging this in production, attacker can use brute force to discover your schema and gain access to authorized endpoints to mitigate this risk. Attack enable this. You can change that. And then I need to update. So then I need to copy in this this example here. I'll just copy this in first. That. And then copy this. Or actually, we're just talking about enabled here. So enabled. Like that. Cool. I think I'm gonna switch up the music. I like the daydreaming one better. Okay. Alrighty, so I think that's okay. Blackface suggestions, communication options. So next one is character limit. Limit the number of characters you have your document. This prevents DDoS attacks by limiting the size of the document. So I was trying to find documentation about specifically calling out character limit, but I couldn't find one that directly references like character limit. There is like depth limit and similar. So querying limit, depth and amount. So amount has to do more with scoring. Using it. So let's see. So depth amount. So let's see what it says about amount. Yeah, amount limiting. So character limit. I might revisit this later because this is the one that I have to come up with more on the fly documentation versus I think some of these other ones are more verbose in terms of their communication or better descriptors. So let's look at rate. So there's rate limiting. Let's look up official documentation for cost limit. So GraphQL cost limit. So let's see what the official documentation says about cost limit. Limit the complexity of GraphQL document. That's not much in the way of description. And then what did I copy here? Limit the complexity of document. Okay. That doesn't really describe much on exactly what the heck that means. Here, let's see what Shopify says. So that's calculating costs. So let's see what they say here. Why is it rate limiting? So rate limiting system protects. Show you Spotify rate limiting system. Blah blah blah. To ensure developers have a reliable and stable API, servers need to be enforced with reasonable API usage. Bad actors to abuse API by sending too many requests. Clients unintentionally sending requests in infinite loops, sending that traditional ways of rate limiting. So this is rate limiting, but I think this is just cost. But this has to do more with complexity of the document, not limiting the amount of requests. And that's rate limiting. But it goes into the size of the query, so limit the complexity of the query. So I'm going to leave that line there so we can stay on point. So let's keep on going back and take a look at. So let's look up complexity limit. Query complexity limits. Query complexity limits the specified amount of data that a client can request through GraphQL. That complexity limit is calculated at a maximum number of. Okay, so it's just we're just trying. So, okay, so the way they communicate is we're trying to limit the amount of data sent requests. prevent and to ensure optimal performance for your API. It is prudent to limit the amount of data to ensure optimal performance, to ensure stability. How about stability, not optimal performance? Let's see, how do we reference it over here? For your GraphQL server, it is prudent to limit the amount of data an actor can request from your API. So that's basically the complexity and depth. Let's see. See, LogRocket let's see about LogRockets. So this is rate limiting again, which is again another thing. Complexity score is calculated for each request is made here. To ensure the stability of your GraphQL server, it is prudent to limit the amount of data that an actor can request for your API. An attacker can attempt to crash, to degrade or crash your server by requesting very complex so an attacker can attempt to degrade or crash your GraphQL server, degrade performance, or crash your GraphQL server by requesting fields that require what type of fields be? Let's see. So by requesting fields, so an attacker can attempt to degrade your performance or crash your server by requesting fields that require how should we say this? More effort, more resources to retrieve. So to ensure stability of your GraphQL server, it is prudent to limit the amount of data an actor can request from your API. The amount of complex data. The amount of complex data an actor can request from your API. An attacker can attempt to degrade performance or crash your GraphQL server by requesting fields that require more resources to. So the attacker can attempt to degrade by requesting fields that require more resources to retrieve. But only by requesting fields So an attacker can attempt to degrade performance or crash your server by requesting many fields that require more resources to retrieve. So I feel like that's a good descriptor on there. And then to reduce this risk, so this attack, RedwoodJS by default has configured for all queries let's say all requests. The dog we're sitting for mind is going crazy because the mailman got here. So to reduce this cost, to reduce this cost, the cost limit has for all requests. segment for broadcast. Sets modest limits. So let's see. Static cost of an object 2. Static cost of a scalar, depth cost factor. Callback that already ran or whatever. To reduce this attack, and there should be a comma. So RedwoodJS by default has cost limit configured for all requests with a modest values set. I'm good. Double checking whether I got pinged or not. Okay. Candykin, missing a word there, says to reduce the of this attack. Okay, great. To reduce the likely the surface. Let's say that this is where the things get a little weird. I guess surface area. See, like of this attack. It's like we want to try to the likelihood, like the likelihood of this attack. RedwoodJS by default is custom configured for all requests with modest values set. Yeah, so yeah, because we want to try to avoid being overly academic with how we phrase things. I've read documentation that can be a little bit too academic. I love the library, but an example for it is a perfect example is RedwoodJS, which is a functional programming library, but it is far too academic for human consumption. So, like adding is fine, adds 2 values, but let's go to something like pipe, something that a very powerful tool that does piping. Performs a left to right function composition. The first argument may have any arity. The remaining arguments must be unary. Okay, so what's up with that? What is up with what's up with this description? Unless you actually study computer science or actual algorithms, this descriptor is not very fun. Yeah, so I wrote lots of Redwood. I wrote lots of the Redwood docs, including the tutorial, although I haven't touched the GraphQL docs yet. Nice. Well, that's great that you're here, because you could provide any help is good help as we're trying to work on this. So a little bit of background on this was, so there was one of the asks from the Redwood team to us over at Zeal was to try integrating in GraphQL Armor. So instead of using the specific plugins like cost limit, just roll in GraphQL Armor, which is a library in itself that comes with a bunch of plugins already pre-configured on there that we can just use. So I had completed the code portion of that, which was really easy to integrate the plugin, but all the work is going into actually writing out. I feel like all the work is to write out the docs because it's so easy to configure. Now we just need to go in and actually explain things, because the docs in here do a beautiful job of explaining query depth limit. And so I just tweaked this to point to, you know, updating this to how to do the configuration. And then I just finished writing out the block field suggestions. Is that nice? I think I heard. Haven't seen it being used yet. It's really simple just to use it because it's just a plugin, and then you pass in a configuration object. Although this configuration object needs updating. I didn't finish configuring the configuration for that. It's block field suggestions. This is it. So then we do this, that. There we go. That's how. So GraphQL Armor is just going to be the blob object, and then each plugin has its own field in there. So like with depth, max depth, it's like that. Block field suggestions is like that. So yeah, I just finished out writing out the block field suggestions part. I felt like is okay, and then I'm skipping character limit because this one. I need to figure out a good way to like be really descriptive other than just saying it prevents the character limit, so you can't do very large requests. So I'm punting on that one because this one's a little bit more ambiguous, whereas cost limit does have some good examples and stuff like that we can pull from, and good documentation that we can pull from. So let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. So to ensure the stability of your GraphQL server, it is prudent to limit the amount of complex data an actor can request from your API. And an attacker can attempt to degrade performance or crash your GraphQL server by requesting many fields that require more resources to retrieve. To reduce the likelihood of this attack, RedwoodJS by default has cost limit configured for all requests with modest values set. And then let's copy this. But how's your week been? It's a Canikin. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Hopefully your week's been going well. So you can change the default settings via GraphQL settings. You can change the default settings by GraphQL setting. Configure your, so that needs to be updated because that's copy pasta. See, what else can we set about block field suggestions? You can configure under configure. You let's do that. Pretty hectic. We're getting new floors in the house, and all of our belongings are piled up into the middle of rooms covered in plastic. Oh, it's like for the but dude is finishing up now, so we can start putting everything back where it belongs this weekend, which will be like a huge weight off our shoulders. That's awesome. That's great. Is it just the flooring, or are they pulling up? Are they just laying down? I guess what type of flooring are you doing? Are you just doing like kind of like laminate, like the new laminate style over the boards? Or are they ripping up? Are they pulling up old floorboards and putting down new ones? We got for this house, when to get flooring in was really easy because we had everything. We had basically everything already moved out because we were moving in, so it was really easy to get all the flooring done. Pulled up carpet, putting down engineered hardwood, glue down over concrete on the ground floor. Gotcha. Yeah, the engineered. We didn't get engineered hardwood. We got the like, it's like, I forget. It's a kind of like this laminate cross stone flooring, so it's not exactly laminate, but it's like hard. Like it's pretty cool. It was good. It's nice. Flooring's confusing. There's too many variations and stuff like that. Yeah, how we know is going to be like this. We would have had movers come and move everything out into the storage pods and then had them move everything back again when they were done. Yeah. It's a pain in the butt. It's a major pain in the butt. Yeah, luckily we weren't moved in just yet when they worked on the house. We now have the permanent floor. Nice. There's no choices. It's glued down. At least on the first floor, it's no choice. It's glued down. It is now permanent. All right, let's work on a cost limit. Working on this example here. So max aliases. That's interesting. That's how it's cost limit, but it's configured under max aliases. Let's see. Probably what we'll do for this one is let's not show the example one. Let's do max cost. Do 4,000. This is kind of arbitrary because these are already set to under GraphQL Armor configure. Under GraphQL, so you can change the develop side by security. How much did I say this? Under GraphQL configure. Yeah, configure. Yeah, this needs to be updated because I just copy pasted this. Under GraphQL Armor configure block field suggestions property. Using configuration options. And then this is, yep, okay. Oh, thank you for the follow. Depth charge. Greatly appreciate that. We're using StreamYard so we don't get overlay notifications, but boom. Stream Elements lets us know. So under GraphQL Armor, configure block field suggestions property using the following configuration options. We can do this. I'll probably have to revisit this again. It's like writing an essay, right? It's like you write it once and then you got to take a little bit of time and then revisit it again to make sure it all makes sense. After a couple minutes or a couple hours later. So under GraphQL configure max aliases property setting. Max inspired by setting. Let's see, does this one up here make sense? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Setting by setting. So this is by setting the costs. By setting the costs, or by setting the costs for retrieving objects, scalars, or updating, I guess, etc. So this is the link for that. Please, so for additional options, please see GraphQL blog. So under GraphQL, configure max aliases property and setting the cost of retrieving the object, scalar, etc. For this configuration. And then cost limit, I need to actually link to cost limit proper up here. Right there. Excellent. So let's read this over again and see if this all makes sense. I'll read it over here because it looks different. So to ensure stability of your GraphQL server, it is prudent to limit the amount of complex data an actor can request from your API. An attacker can attempt to degrade performance or crash your GraphQL server by requesting many fields that require more resources to retrieve. To reduce the likelihood of this attack, RedwoodJS by default has cost limit configured for all requests with modest values set. You can change the default settings via the GraphQL config setting when creating your GraphQL handler. Under GraphQL config, configure max aliases property and setting the cost for retrieving objects, scalars, etc. For additional configuration, please enter that. And then we do max cost. Maybe we do one more. So we'll do one for object cost. 4. Shrug. Do. Nice. Again, I'm just checking things. I should be having another article being posted about Redwood soon. So I had, and I think I mentioned this last Friday, but had a released article on deploying Redwood on Azure on the website for static Azure web apps. And I had created a follow-up article for deploying it serverful on Azure web apps, the servers. So that one should be going out fairly soon. I believe it might be scheduled soon to go out. So you'll be able to deploy both the front end and the website on Azure. That will be very cool. So cost limit, max alias. So again, we'll leave this as is. Okay, so max aliases, limit the number of aliases. So this one is new to me. It's used to prevent DDoS attack or heap overflow. Max aliases. So let's try to find some details about alias. Let's see, graph. What does this search? GraphQL max alias. Yeah, because this one is new to me. Using aliases in GraphQL. Let's see. Let's see what they. Let's get a refresher on what an alias actually is in GraphQL from LogRocket. You need encounter where you need your custom queries to return a custom field name. What are aliases? Aliases allow us to rename the data that is returned in a query results. Instead, so they don't change the original schema. Instead, they manipulate the structure of the query result as is fetched from your database, displaying them according to your specifications. Aliases come in handy when we want to improve the efficiency of your queries. For example, let's say you try to fetch the same data by applying various filters. Many developers would be inclined to write separate queries and execute them in independent API calls. In this situation and others, aliases can help you optimize and improve the organization of your queries. There are some scenarios. Fetching multiple objects in one query. I don't want to read everything here, so I just want to skim it. I want to cheat. So okay. Poorly named aliases. Okay. I think I've used aliases before. It's been a very long time since I haven't had the need to on our client projects because we actually have things structured fairly nicely. All right, let's try to get some more context around this max alias thing. Interactive guide to GraphQL queries. Oh my. Yeah, because they're so this errors out because we're fetching two user objects, so they collide. So then this is an alias right here, first user, second user. So then it will return. So yeah, user one, user two. Yep. Okay, so what is the so why do we want to prevent aliases? What is the security implications of limiting the alias? Limit the number of aliases. Is that so we just don't fetch the same thing over and over again? Because we could attempt to try to like fetch the same field that costs a lot over and over again, but then the cost limit's there too. But I want a more, that's just my conjecture. Ooh, okay, security concerns with alias. So GraphQL aliasing is a powerful feature, but with great power comes great vulnerability. Batch attacks and DDoS, and this post will explain how it works and how to remediate. Okay. I like studying security stuff, so this is cool to get more context on this. Ooh, excuse me. So some users start complaining that your web application is not secure and that someone managed to log into their account. You take a look at the user history and network activity, but nothing looks wrong. However, you notice that your server is slower than usual. 2 days later, your application is down due to DOS attack. And then too many requests crashed your service and it is not available anymore. But your network activity seems pretty quiet. You have a firewall in place, so you should prevent a DOS attack. That's weird, isn't it? It is weird. From GraphQL aliases to batch attacks, it comes from a super useful feature called aliases. What are aliases? So when making a query to GraphQL, the response has the same format as the query, but what about the query of the same field with different attributes? So without aliases, this isn't possible, as JSON field names will be unique. Yep. So here, this feature allows multiple queries to be sent with a single GraphQL request. This technique is called batching, and only one batch will transit on the network, and then all queries will be executed. Gotcha. So aliasing prevents batch attacks, which then prevents DOS attacks and heap overflows. Only one batch. So batch attacks with aliases. This is an easy way to bypass attempt and rate limits. Needed limits are usually set up on the number of API calls, but what if a single API call can create tools responsible for securing web applications like firewalls and rate limits cannot detect abnormal activities. Therefore, all your common protection mechanisms will fail to detect and deny brute force. So an attacker can simply make one API call to hundreds of attempts. Yep. Here's a simple example of an attacker can use to try the credentials. Ooh. So they can batch attack login tries. Okay. All right. Now that was an interesting read. I'll just go ahead and throw this in chat anyway and stick it onto the screen in case anyone wants to read that later. Okay, so GraphQL offers the ability to alias. So how do we say this? alias request. So GraphQL offers the ability to alias fields alias field names in the situation. So GraphQL offers the ability to alias field names in the situation where when a to fetch information for when an actor would like to fetch information so let's say field names in the situation where an actor would like to fetch information. So when an actor would like to fetch information multiple times for the same field. So GraphQL offers the ability to alias field names in the situation where an actor would like to fetch information multiple times for the same field. So I feel like this one definitely needs to be a little bit more example heavy, because this one's a really interesting one that needs to that you're gonna need to get your noggin around. I want to see how we alias users. Okay, so then what we're going to be doing here is like fetching we want to fetch Bob. And we want to fetch Alice. So GraphQL offers the ability to alias field names in the situation where actors would like when an actor would like to fetch information but when an actor would like to fetch information multiple times in the same query. There offers the ability to alias field names in the situation when an actor would like to fetch information for the same field multiple times in the same query. I think maybe adding the IDs a little bit overkill for, for semantics here. For example, but this feature can be abused by an attacker to fetch to perform multiple queries. Let's see. So in the same, I guess in the same request. Let's get the semantics correct. So we're offer the ability to set the alias field names, and we'd like to query when an actor would like to query information. Like to query for the same field multiple times in the same request. There we go. Let me get this off the screen now. But this feature can be abused by an attacker to perform multiple. Well, so this feature can be abused by an attacker to perform multiple to perform as many queries as they would like a single request, bypassing any rate limit or see what's the other thing we have in here. So we have rate limits. Let's see, 10 number of tokens. So what's the thing that they say? They say rate limit, which is the obvious one. I guess it's just rate limit. This feature can be abused by an attacker to perform a batch attack That's a stu lowercase. Oh my god. So this feature can be abused by an attacker to perform a batch attack. Allowing them to perform as many queries as they would like in a single request, bypassing So this feature could be abused by an attacker to perform a batch attack as many queries as they would like in a single request, bypassing rate limiting rules. in performance. So allowing them to perform as many queries as they would like in a single row bypass rate limiting rules. So an attacker can then perform a denial service attack or a denial, not deny. Why can't I spell denial right now? Hello? Deny. Did I? I thought I spelled that right. Why did it correct me? An attacker can then perform a denial of service attack or attempt to brute force password. I love this example. I'm going to go ahead and link to the article. Simon, hello to you. Thanks for stopping by. Please read a deeper on the topic. Okay, so let's take a look on how this looks thus far. So max aliases. GraphQL offers the ability to alias field names in the situation when an actor would like to query for the same field multiple times in the same request. For example, query alias users Bob, Alice. But this feature can be abused by an attacker to perform a batch attack, allowing them to perform many queries as they would like, allowing them to perform as many queries as they would like in a single request, bypassing any rate limit rules. An attacker can then perform a denial of service attack, or attempt to brute force login attempts. Perform. And the example below. It's really cool. Yeah, this is I mean, this is fun. I know fun is relative, but being able to look into these and get a better context on this is cool. All right, so we'll finish this. We're gonna finish up this section of here, and then we're probably gonna call it. But we still have just a little bit more to do. So we're just gonna. I'm gonna copy this here, and then let's paste this in. So to to mitigate, all right, so if you have any questions, Simon, feel free to ask. By the way, hopefully you're doing well this Friday, this fine Friday. So to mitigate this sort of attack, RedwoodJS by default has. So let's look at the So to mitigate this sort of attack, RedwoodJS default includes has max aliases. And let's go ahead and link to max aliases here. To limit the let me see, what do we say up here for by default by RedwoodJS by default sets max alias I'm trying to look at how we do sets the max alias is am I lost? No, I'm not. So to make it different, sets the by default sets the max aliases to, and looks like we're set to 15. Nice. So you can change the default setting via the GraphQL Armor config setting when creating your GraphQL handler. Under GraphQL Armor, configure max aliases. Oh, weird. Hold on. Cost limit. Why is cost limit using the same cost limit plugin? You see that? I thought that was weird. Look, there's a typo here in this documentation. Let me see over here. Cost limit. It's cost limit. Ha. There. I'm glad I caught that. That was really subtle because we were like copying directly from the docs. Max aliases. So it's max aliases. I was like, why is it already there? That's weird. I'm going to configure max alias property by setting in the cost. I'm going to go to max alias the property and setting the cost for. Under GraphQL Armor, configure the max aliases property and setting the maximum of aliases. So under GraphQL Armor, configure max aliases property and setting the maximum number of aliases. A request can have using using n. Is that how we say it for up here for say configure the max depth using max depth property and setting n. You can, so under you can configure maximum, let's do it this way, maximum number of aliases using the max aliases property and setting n. Okay, for additional configuration options, C, and then I might have to do like a bug for this for this documentation. I might need to help submit a bug because that has the wrong configuration on it. That's really funny. So did I update for up here? Did I update this? Custom. Okay, good. Update the linking to that. So additional configuration options to that. And then max aliases and then n. Okay. Max alias. GraphQL offers the ability to alias field names in the situation when an actor would like to query for the same field multiple times in the same request. For example, and then that's an example of an alias. But the feature can also be abused by an attacker to perform a batch attack, allowing them to perform many queries, as many queries as they would like in a single request, bypassing any rate limit rules. An attacker could then perform a denial of service attack or attempt to brute force login attempts, like in the example below. So mutation, blah, 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 blah. To mitigate this sort of attack, RedwoodJS by default sets the max aliases to 15. You can configure the default settings via the GraphQL Armor setting when creating your GraphQL handler. Under GraphQL Armor config, you can configure the maximum number of aliases using the max aliases property and setting n. For additional configuration options, please see GraphQL Armor max aliases configuration options. And then there's the example. Okay, we got through a couple of these. Like we have 3 more to go, because we have max directives, max tokens, and then we got to circle back on character limit. So I will probably have to spend a little bit of time offline, just finishing these up so I can ship this feature set, because I've been working on this for the past. I've only been working on this all on Fridays, and if I continue to work only on Fridays, this thing's not going to end up shipped, not going to end up being reviewed for like another week or 2. So error masking. Oh wait, error masking is the other one, I think. Yeah, error masking is the other one. So I have 4. This one was the most involved for sure, this max aliases one, because I wasn't familiar with the max alias attack. So that's really cool. But alrighty, that is it for me then. Thanks so much everyone for hanging out. Greatly appreciate it. Let's get that out of the way. And thank you very much for the help, Kennykin. You can see like that thing is showing up right there. It's just deciding to show that for whatever reason. Probably because it's matching my skin color. And Simon, thanks for lurking. And everyone else that was lurking, thank you very much. And just listening in as we're working on documentations for this this new feature on RedwoodJS. So greatly appreciate y'all. And I will catch you on the next Friday stream. If not, follow me on Twitter at TalkToMeGooseman. Follow me on Twitch, YouTube, whatever it is, that's all Talk to Me Gooseman. So thanks again. Hope to catch you all another time. So yeah, next time. Stay happy, stay healthy, and have a good rest of your week. Peace.